Hi, my name's Dennis. This is the third video in a series on temperaments and health. We're going to look at what is tempering. So in previous videos, we've looked at the four elements theory: earth, water, air, and fire, the four elements, earth and water under the influence of gravity, and air and fire under the influence of levity. But, there's some hidden little relationships in here that are kind of interesting. So air, for instance, as an element, we see it's in the levity pole, but air also can connect up to water. And when air connects up into water, there is a quality then known as moist. And that moistness is the mist rising off the lake. But air also has the ability to connect to fire. And in that situation, air and fire together make things hot. So the elements themselves have interrelationships that are pretty profound. So a good way to look at that is to see that it's probably a better way to organize the four elements into a circle rather than into a vertical column. Let's rearrange these things a little bit here. We'll put earth at the bottom, water at the side, fire over there, and air. So now we have a circular arrangement of the four elements. We'll draw a little circle here to show that now we have a different relationship in the way that the elements are operating. So I can take my water relationship to air, and I'll put up right in there moist, and my fire relationship to air, hot. So water in air creates moisture, and air with fire creates heat. So if we looked at fire and earth, we could say, well, what happens when fire and earth come together? Things get dry. And what happens when water and earth come together? Things get cold. So now cold and hot are opposites, and moist and dry are opposites. So now we have a different relationship here. We're just going to go and erase all the things we don't need here. So I'm going to erase the elements, and what we're left with is the four qualities of things that balance the four elements. That balancing is known as tempering. And we have cold and dry. So I'm just going to move these temperaments into the cardinal positions of being opposites with each other. Moist and dry are opposites. And we have a new circle of temperaments of the balancing of the elements. So tempering is balancing. And balancing means to change proportions in things. So I'm going to move gravity and levity out of the way, and we're going to talk a little bit here about making gravy, because gravy requires a very keen sense of tempering. So in making gravy, we have the things that could be considered temperamental things that needed to be balanced. So with moist, if I want to make gravy, I have water, and the hot element is the fat or oil, and the dry element, we'll just put this in yellow here, is flour. And I need somehow to unite them and balance them. And the thing that really does it in this situation is salt. So let's say I want to make some gravy. Let's say I start out with hot oil, and I want to make the hot oil moist, so I add water. And then I try to add the flour, and I don't get gravy. So let's start out, then let's see, instead of starting out with oil and water, let's start out by putting salt in water and then putting that in oil and then adding the flour, the dry flour. Probably not going to get any gravy out of that either. So tempering means that I have to get these different qualities to balance one another. And I do that by changing the proportions of how they operate. So let's start out making gravy. We'll put hot oil, and right there in the heat, we'll add the flour, the dry flour, and we stir them together. Flour being dry and the oil being hot, they have a kind of affinity to each other because they're both kind of in a fire, hot, dry bowl. When I mix them together, then I can add some salt to that, and that allows that hot mixture to have a capacity to unite with the water element. I have hot, dry, cold, moist, oil, flour, salt, water in a sequence, and when I get done, I have gravy. And that's because I've tempered the four elements into each other in a sequence, or one quality can balance the other. The oil and the flour, the hot and the dry, connect to each other. The cold is also kind of dry. The salt is connected to that, and together they make it possible for the moist to be added and tempering the hot, dry, cold into gravy. So this is tempering on the mandala of the four temperaments, and this idea can be taken very, very far in the pursuit of health. Thanks for watching.